Bonjour YouTube, I hope you're doing great. In today's video, we're going to talk about Phoebe. She released last week. I wanted to make the guide a little bit earlier and I actually finished recording it, but then I've kept finding new information and stuff like that about her gameplay, her kit, rotations, etc. So I kind of redid it last second. No camera. I think I'll just do like voiceover guides from now on because it's a little bit easier and I don't have as much time anymore to like edit and stuff like that. So we're gonna go over this real quick. In case you don't know, Phoebe is the new Spectral DPS in Withering Waves. I wouldn't consider her like 100% like main DPS because if you look at her kit in detail, I'll talk about it later on, but I feel like she's gonna get better in the future when we get a character that will synergize better with her. Because at the moment she's kind of stuck with
Let me be
Spectral
there for
Rover
everyone.
and
Understood.
Shorekeeper, but she really
I'm
cannot
here
work
to
in any
serve
other
your
team. I mean, you
will.
can replace Shorekeeper, but you
Let me
cannot
be there for
replace
everyone.
Spectral Rover.
As we
So first, let's go over her build, and then I'll explain her kit afterwards, all right? So first, her build is what weapon you want for her is going to be her signature weapon, the most important. After that, if you have any 5-star limited weapon like Zhuzha weapon or Yinlin weapon, it's going to be very good as well. String Master is a little bit better than Zhuzha's weapon, but the difference is almost non-existent, and compared to her signature weapon, it's going to be about 5% worse. So there's not that big of a difference. So yeah, any 5-star weapon works, of course, except the Shorekeeper weapon. And then after that, the standard weapon is going to be pretty good. And finally, you get her F2P weapon that you can get in the current event that gives spectral damage when you deal damage to enemies that have spectral frazzle. Um, it's basically it's the baseline weapon, but if you have the standard weapon, it's going to be a little bit better. Overall, if you have any other weapon than her signature, if you have any other 5-star, I would not recommend pulling her signature because only her can really use it, actually, at least at the moment. And she can really use Zhuzha or Yinlin's weapon pretty well. But yeah, if you really don't have any options, the event weapon is really good. Now, for the Echoes, there's only going to be one set for her. It's going to be the new Eternal Radiant set that gives spectral damage and that gives crit rate. And in terms of main stat, you will most likely go crit damage main stat on the forecast. It depends what weapon you're using. If you're using a crit rate weapon or crit damage weapon, you might want to switch the main stat. But yeah, if you're using crit rate weapon, it's probably going to be crit damage main stat. And then for the for the 3 costs, I would recommend attack percent more than spectral damage in general, especially if you're using any of the limited 5-star weapons, because you get a lot of damage bonus already. She gets a lot of damage bonus in her kit as well with Shorekeeper, etc. With the weapons and with the set. So I would recommend at least one attack, but I haven't tested too much. I'm not really theory crafting or anything, but I would even potentially think that double attack is probably better than spectral attack. But at the end of the day, it's going to be maximum like 5% damage difference. So just go with the ones you have the best stats, spectral or attack, whatever. It doesn't really matter. And then for the 1 cost, attack percent. In the substats, you will want double crit as much as possible. If you're using her signature, she can easily get 100 crit rate, even if you don't get crit rate on every piece. For example, on this one, I don't have crit rate, and if I play with Shorekeeper plus per set, I'm getting 33% crit rate, so I'm already overcapped. But yeah, you don't even need double crit everywhere. Get as much crit damage as you can. Get some heavy and basic attack damage bonus, because most of our DPS is going to be from heavy attack. And if you get some liberation and some energy recharge, it's also pretty good. Liberation damage and energy regen is also going to be pretty good. And as usual, attack percent is also pretty nice. But priority to crit, heavy attack, and then after that, if you can get heavy, if you can get liberation or basic or ER, it's also nice. Now for the talent levels, you will want to level up the Forte circuit first. Liberation is pretty important, and after that, it's going to be basically similar priority for resonant skill and for the attack talent. The resonant skill level increase your damage with your basic attacks, and then the noble attack increases your damage as well. But your charge attack damage, your heavy attack damage, is gonna be increased mostly by the Forte circuit, so this is the priority. And then liberation damage scaling is pretty good and gets buffed by the Forte as well, so you kind of want both. And then in terms of resonance chain, I will only recommend going for the S1 or S2 if you're like a low spender. S2 is pretty insane. S1 is pretty insane too, like pretty insane. After that, like every constellation, every codpiece is pretty good, but S6 is pretty huge. Makes your rotation much smoother as well, and increase your DPS quite a lot. But yeah, I'd say like S1, S2 are pretty good. S3 is pretty nice and kind of changes the way you play her, at least at the moment. But overall, I would just recommend like S1 or S2, but I'm not gonna go over the chains too much because I don't think it's worth it. Unless you like her a lot, then go for it. But yeah. Now, in terms of hit, so Phoebe is kind of nice. She uses mostly her normal attacks to deal damage. As you can see, that's her animation for normal attacks. And basically, when you have two different stance, so you have absolution stance when you do heavy attack at the start of your rotation. So as you can see here, my forte energy is full lit up, and when I do 1, 2, 3, then I can do a charge attack that deals a lot of damage to the enemy. It is a lot of damage actually. It can, at the moment, it goes up to like 40k times 3. And then once I've done it 4 times, I can change stance. So here my stance reset when I lose my forte circuit, my forte energy. I'm still in the absolution stance. In this stance, my heavy attack damage is increased, my liberation damage is increased, and it's basically going to be the stance you use the most. But once you lose your energy on your forte, you can decide to switch stance if you want. And here, if I hold my skill, I'm going to switch to the confession stance, where here my heavy attacks are not going to deal as much damage, but I'm going to be able to deal more damage with the Spectral Frazzle and apply more stacks of Spectral Frazzle. So as you can see here, I'm entering the Absolution stance. To deal as much damage as possible with Phoebe, you want to apply Spectral Frazzle on the enemy. So when you activate your stance, it applies 1 Spectral Frazzle, but 1 Spectral Frazzle disappears pretty fast. You really want the Spectral Rover with your Phoebe to be able to apply as much Spectral Frazzle as possible. As you can see,
let me be there for everyone.
In Rover's Forte, when you use your skill with 50 energy, you will apply 2 stacks of Spectral Frazzle, and also you apply a debuff that makes it so Spectral Frazzle, it prevents Spectral Frazzle stacks from reducing over time. So it's really important so you can maximize Phoebe's DPS. And also Liberation from Spectral Rover applies 6 stacks. So with if you got a full stack skill plus a Liberation, you will apply 10 stacks of Spectral Frazzle on the enemy. Alright. And if I use my Liberation, it doesn't die. Oh, it's dead. But you can see the 6 stack Spectral Frazzle on the enemy here, and it slowly goes down over time. Alright. And now when the enemy has Spectral Frazzle on it, so like here for example, if I use Phoebe's charge attack, you can see 700. So if I attack an enemy that has Spectral Frazzle, you can see my charge attack did 3000 here. So way more damage when the enemy has Spectral Frazzle. Also, when you attack an enemy that is in the circle, so your skill creates a circle that has different abilities. If you attack from outside the circle, it's gonna refract the light and deal a few ticks of damage. Plus, if there are small enemies in the circle, it will bring the enemies inside the circle. And then when you're inside the circle, your normal attacks will deal way more damage. So on single target, most of the time, you will want to stay in the circle to deal as much damage as possible with your basic attacks. But in AoE content, for example, like the new endgame we just got, you might want to stay outside so you can group the enemies and then deal as much damage as possible. But yeah, and then her Liberation is basically just a ton of damage. It's a massive nuke that deals a ton of damage. And if you're in the Absolution stance, so basically when your Forte is yellow, your ult will deal a ton more damage. It will increase the ultimate damage by 255% when you're in Absolution. So 99% of the time you will want to do this because you want to use Rover to apply the Spectral Frazzle and use Phoebe to deal damage while the enemies have Spectral Frazzle. Which is also why I think she's going to get better in the future when we get a character that can apply more Spectral Frazzle and can synergize better with Phoebe. As you can see, her Ultra skill deals more damage when you're in Absolution. And she also reduces the Spectral Res of the enemy and increases the Spectral Frazzle damage. So most of the time, when you switch from Phoebe, you will go into Shorekeeper in her best team and not to Spectral Rover. So right now, she doesn't synergize the best with Spectral Rover. So it's going to get better in the future, 100%. So as I said, in terms of teams at the moment, this is the best Phoebe team. You can replace Shorekeeper with something else like, I don't know, like you can do Sanhua, you can do another DPS like Shengli Yao, Carlota, Chengli. But if you want to play her as a main DPS, this is going to be the best team. And then you can do some quick swap with other characters. But at the moment, it's basically the only team. She's stuck with Spectral Rover. She's literally unplayable without Spectral Rover at the moment. Otherwise, you can't apply Spectral Frazzle on the enemy if you're not playing with Spectral Rover. So I will show you a quick clear of this 12-1 floor at the moment, this middle tower floor 1. I can get approximately like a 1 minute, 1 minute 10 clear on average. I don't have the best rotation, but I will show you like the basic rotation for most of the time. So you will want to start the fight by entering the stance, which is going to be the Absolution stance, to deal as much damage as possible, and then build up Concerto on your Shorekeeper, on your Spectral Rover, to be able to apply all your buffs and then switch back to Phoebe and deal as much damage as possible. So I start with this Absolution, I use my skill, I use my Echo, I start going on Shorekeeper, I go Spectral Rover, I use my ult and my skill to apply some Spectral Frazzle. I go back to the Shorekeeper to get my Concerto again, and then we can go back to Spectral Rover. And then we go on Phoebe, Liberation on Phoebe. Skill, go inside the skill to deal more damage with your basic attack, and then 1, 2, 3 into charge attack. 1, 2, 3 into charge attack. And then Ultra skill into Shorekeeper. It will buff the Shorekeeper Ultra intro skill as well because it reduces the Spectral Res, so your Shorekeeper can deal a ton of damage with this as well. And then you want to repeat your stance change. Go back to Spectral Rover if you can. And then Liberation again. Charge attack. 1, 2, 3. Charge attack. Don't forget to use your Echo because you can use it without stopping your rotation, and then that's basically it. I was a bit slow here, I would say, but could have been a bit faster, but it's not too bad. So that's the basic rotation. Some people you can be much faster. Once again, I didn't show any like super quick swap or anything. I'm not really there yet. But that's the basic rotation. It goes pretty fast. This is a C0R1 Phoebe. This is a C0 S0R1 Shorekeeper. And my Spectral Rover is not even built. For your information, the Spectral Rover is not even built. As you can see, I'm using Overture R5 just for the energy and for the Concerto. I really like it, actually. It's comfortable. And I'm using ER set with +0 echoes. And the talents are not even leveled up. So if the Spectral Rover was fully built, I could potentially gain like 15-20 seconds because you can deal a ton of damage with the Spectral Rover. The scaling on the ultimate is pretty insane. So yeah. And my Phoebe is basically, I don't think I'm going to improve the build too much. I'm missing 2 crit rolls, but I don't need more crit rate. I'm basically just missing 1 crit damage roll, so it's not too bad. And that's basically 100 crit rate. So yeah. S0 R1, and she's performing very well. So overall, pretty good character. I think she's gonna get better in the future. The rotation is can be a bit tricky, but it's not that complicated. And yeah, I am not sure I will continue doing Withering Waves videos, or maybe I'll go back. I'll go to like the format I'm doing now because it takes me a lot of time, especially for these guides. Because Withering Waves combat system is pretty complicated. The kits of the characters are pretty complicated. So if I want like a complete guide, it actually takes a lot of time. So I will see if I continue. I will make a brand guide for sure, and after that, I am not sure how I will cover Withering Waves. I don't have enough time to do Withering Waves plus other like Genshin on my main channel or even other Hoyo games from time to time. So I will think about it. Maybe I'll just do quick videos like that with no camera and stuff like that. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the videos. Thank you for the support. Let me know if you have any more questions, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.